Hello everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back. I hope that you are all doing well. This is where I talk about the books that I'm reading, and I like to read diverse books and I highlight Canadian literature. If you are new, thanks so much for checking out my channel. Please hit subscribe and stick around. Today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I hauled in September. I received some really interesting books from publishers, plus I attended a literary event and I was gifted some pretty cool goodies as well. So I will start, like I always do, with the books that I received from publishers. And the first book is from Highwater Press and Zedgy Stories. If you've been watching my channel for a little while, then the first book that I want to share with you might be a surprise because it is A Girl Called Echo Omnibus, and this is by Katherena Vermette. Now, this is a surprise because I don't usually read graphic novels, but it wouldn't be too surprising if you already know that I love Katherena Vermette. She has quickly become one of my favorite authors. I have loved her books, The Break, The Strangers, and her newest one is The Circle, which I need to grab. I've also read one of her poetry books, and she has written children's stories and graphic novels. And this book, Omnibus, is a combined volume of the series A Girl Called Echo. So all 4 volumes are included, and it is illustrated by Scott B. Henderson, and the color is by Donovan Yakluk. So in this story, the main character time travels to learn about important events in Métis history, kind of like a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but in graphic novels, and the Métis edition. So just like thumbing through the book, I can tell that I like the illustrations. Here, I'll show you another quick peek here. So I'm really looking forward to reading this and seeing what else Katherena Vermette has written. The next book is such a sweet little book. It's from Tachian Publications, and it is The Corset and the Jellyfish, A Conundrum of Drabbles by Nick Bantock. This will be published on November the 7th, so just over a month away. And some of you may know this author from his Griffin and Sabine series, but I have actually never heard of him, and he is a writer that lives in Victoria, BC. So I'm really happy to be introduced to this Canadian writer. As you can probably see on the cover, there are these little drawings or glyphs, and in the book, each drawing is paired with a story, and there's 100 stories with 100 words each, and the author explains how the stories came to be, and it seems that there is some work for the reader to do, if they choose to come up with a 101st story. So I'm quite intrigued by this one. From the Republic of Consciousness, I have Near Distance by Hanna Stoltenberg, and this is translated from the Norwegian by Wendy H. Gabrielsen. This was August's book of the month, and just this one sentence on the back has me intrigued. It says, "Near Distance explores the space between a mother and daughter where love should be." So I'm like, yes, tell me more. This is obviously about a mother-daughter relationship, and I think it's about looking at what we pass down to the next generation, probably without even realizing it. And then September's book from the Republic of Consciousness is Sylvia, and this is by Maithreyi Karnoor. This also has a theme of motherhood, and it includes Indian mythology. It takes place in South India, where a man and woman meet, and the book is described as a kaleidoscope of tales. The woman, Sylvia, disappears and is seen in the lives of other characters until she comes back into focus. And this kind of reminded me of Astra by Cedar Bowers, in how we only know the main character through other characters. So once I read this, I will have to see if that's true or not. So a few weeks ago, I was able to attend a literary event here in Calgary, and it was with two Canadian writers that I've never read. Both have been longlisted and shortlisted, I think, for the Giller. Elizabeth Hay and Marina Endicott. I am so glad that I went to this event because they were both so delightful. They had us laughing so hard, and I loved hearing about their writing. I was mostly enamored with Marina Endicott. She has such a great personality, and she was so much fun. It was the publication day of her novel, The Observer, and I really want to read this, especially after hearing her talk about it and tell stories about it. The story is based on her real life experience with her husband and family when they moved to Mayerthorpe, Alberta. And it's about how their experiences, especially the husband's experience as an RCMP officer, has affected them. But I didn't pick that one up. I'm going to wait until it comes out in paperback. But I did pick up her novel Good to a Fault, which I had heard really good things about. This is about a woman who crashes into a family who have been living in their car, and the mother of that family has to stay in the hospital. So the woman brings the children and their grandmother home and begins to care for them. So the story explores like the idea of knowing what is good and whether or not we choose to actually do it, and then why do we do it. So I think I'm really going to like this one. And then I picked up two of Elizabeth Hay's books. First is Late Nights on Air, which won the Giller Prize in 2007. And this is about a man who moves from Toronto to Yellowknife and falls in love with a voice on the radio. So this has a love story. It has a bit of historical fiction and adventure, and it just seems like a really eclectic cast of characters that, you know, have all gone to Canada's north for some reason. This one, I think I would consider this for reading across Canada because of its setting. It would work when we get to the Northwest Territories and Nunavut, because it's set in the Northwest Territories. So the other book that I picked up by Elizabeth Hay is Snow Road Station, which is a real place, by the way. This is about a 60-year-old woman who is acting in a play, messes up her lines, and she is embarrassed and decides acting is no longer for her. So she's going to reinvent herself, and she finds herself in Snow Road Station. I really want to read this, but during the event, Elizabeth shared that some of the characters are actually from her other novels, so I may read some of her earlier books first. It's not a series, but I do like to read books in order if I know there are connections. I don't know. Does that matter to you? It matters to me, so we'll see. Next, I received a package of goodies from my friend Lindy from Lindy's Magpie Reads. Lindy was so generous, and she sent me a book that both of us think will make it to the shortlist for the Giller. She's read it, I haven't yet, and that is We Meant Well by Erum, Shazia, Hasan. I am hoping to read this before the shortlist is announced next week. So thank you so much to Lindy for sending this along. This is a debut novel, and I've only been hearing really good things about it. So this is a story about Maya, who receives a phone call letting her know that her colleague has been accused of assaulting a local girl where they operate a charitable orphanage. So Maya is caught between her colleague and the girl who is accusing him, the charity, and the villagers of this place. And what I am most excited about with this book is to see how it will show the interconnectedness that we have around the globe. So how does dishonesty in one place affect the realities in another? I'm so excited to read this. So Lindy also included a poetry collection called White Shirt, and this is by Laurie MacFayden. If you watch Lindy's channel, she often refers to Laurie as her sweetheart. So I am so grateful to get the opportunity to read some of Laurie's poems. Next, I had seen Lindy talk about this book on her channel, and it sounds so interesting to me, and it is What We See When We Read by Peter Mendelsund. This book, first of all, I have to show you the structure, I don't know if you can see that, because it's going to be pretty great. It's not a normal chapter by chapter book, but it looks at what we take in when we read. And I just want to read like a little bit from the front flap. It says, "Did Tolstoy really describe Anna Karenina? Did Melville ever tell us what exactly Ishmael looked like? The collection of fragmented images on a page, a graceful ear here, a stray curl there, a hat positioned just so, and other clues and signifiers help us to create an image of a character. But in fact, our sense that we know a character intimately has very little to do with our ability to concretely picture these literary figures." So I think it's fascinating, and I can't wait to get to it. And Lindy also included like little notes and bookmarks, so it's really neat. And then the other cool thing that Lindy put in this package is this box. It says projections, and inside there are 12 short stories, and inside there is a collection of 12 sci-fi short stories that were written anticipating what life would be like in our present day. And there are stories from Mark Twain, Octavia Butler, and several other authors that I've never even heard of, and they're all dated according to the projection. So I just think that these will be a lot of fun to see how authors envisioned our world and what they got right and what they got wrong. So yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much to Lindy for all of these goodies. I also picked up a few books that I've already read this month. So first up is Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun by El Cosimano. This is the third book in the Finlay Donovan series, and I will be sharing more about this when I do my monthly wrap-up, which should be pretty soon, sometime this week, I think. And then I also picked up Daughters of Sparta by Claire Haywood, which is a Greek mythology retelling, so I will be sharing more about this too when I do my monthly wrap-up. And the last book that I hauled this month that I've already read is Fane by Anne-Marie MacDonald. Anne-Marie MacDonald is an Autobuy author for me, and I totally thought that Fane would be longlisted for the Giller, and I also knew that it was a chunky book. It's quite heavy, so I wanted to have it read, and then it turns out it wasn't longlisted, but I'm still really glad that I read it, and I will be talking more about it in my wrap-up. This leaves me with 2 more books on my list. Also by Autobuy authors, both of them. First is A New Season by Terry Follis, which I had on my Giller Hopefuls list. This is Terry's 9th book, and I can't wait to get to it. I always know what I'm going to get with Terry Follis. Quirky characters, a feel-good story, and some Canadian humor. So I'm really looking forward to spending time with this book soon. And then last but not least is another book that was on my Giller's Hopeful list. It didn't make it either, but it is shortlisted for the Atwood Gibson Fiction Prize, and it turns out that actually more of my Giller Hopefuls made it to the Atwood Gibson shortlist, so it seems I'm on the same page as them. Anyway, the book is Learned by Heart by Emma Donoghue. I actually have no idea what this is about, and I want to keep it that way because I will be reading it this week since the Up to No Good book club with Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot, Fraser from Fraser Simon's Springboard Thought, Shelley from Shelley Swearingen's Library, and our friends Deb, Sonia, and Angela. We'll be talking about this soon, so I'm going to go into it blind, and I hope that I love it. I hope that we all love it. So those are the books that I hauled in September. Thanks again to ZG Stories, Highwater Press, Tachian Publications, The Republic of Consciousness, and my dear friend Lindy for making sure that my bookshelves don't go bare. Please let me know if you have read any of these or if you are interested in any of them. Is there a book that you hauled in September that you are most excited to finally read? I'd love to hear all about it. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.